Today I'm going to share with you the lessons that I've learned in 2023 so far, because let's face it, we're just at the beginning of the year, or I should say we're in the middle of the year, not the beginning. So the lessons that I've learned so far in 2023. The first one is to process stuckness sooner. I think sometimes when we get stuck, it's easy to kind of stay in that stuckness. Or I should say it's hard to get out of that stuckness if we sort of just either don't recognize it or we just don't choose to deal with it sooner and we end up staying in that stuckness longer. I know that happens to me all the time. So I think one of the lessons that I learned is rather than just saying, okay, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, and just wading through it, is to just say, okay, I'm stuck. What can I do about it? How can I move forward? How can I, take action to get out of the stuckness, and to do that sooner rather than later. So that's the first lesson that I learned. The second lesson that I learned is to learn to manage flexibility. I consider myself a pretty flexible person, but the truth is sometimes I can be a bit rigid, like especially if I make plans and it doesn't work out the way that I hoped or planned, then I tend to get frustrated and flustered instead of just saying, okay, this happened, I need to adjust, and to be able to learn how to do that on a regular basis. Because if you're like me, where you're a planner, it can get really frustrating to manage when things around you happen and not be as flexible as perhaps you could be in order to just keep moving forward instead of just saying, well, this hit the fan, I'm just going to stay here. And instead of saying, okay, this happened, how can I pivot? How can I adjust to move forward? So that is a lesson that I'm learning constantly, is how to manage flexibility. The next thing is, and this is a huge one for me, is to focus on one thing, whether that's one goal, one task, one action that you want to take, whether it's for the day, for the week, or for the month. I have a tendency to overload myself and try to tackle too many things, and sometimes that works to my advantage because I like to keep busy and I like to keep moving. It works well for my ADD brain to keep busy and have things going, because if I sit stagnant, sometimes I get overwhelmed and I get frustrated, whereas if I'm constantly moving, I'm making progress. But at the same time, I can overwhelm myself, which it's kind of a weird vicious cycle. But it's just if I focus on one thing, now there could be one goal with multiple tasks, but that I find helps me to make better, consistent progress. So that is one lesson that I've learned. And if that's something that you struggle with as well too, perhaps focusing on one of those things can be helpful. The next lesson that I learned is to find ways to cope with stress and overwhelm. Now, usually I can handle stress pretty well. In fact, I thrive on the stress. But at the same time, I've found that in other areas of my life that have been stressful, I've tried to deal with them the same way that I have. And the truth is, I'm not the same person that I was like even 3-4 years ago, and trying to deal with stress in the same way doesn't always work. So I think for me, what I'm learning is to find how to deal with and manage stress in a different way so that I can manage it better instead of just trying to figure out, like, why isn't it working? Why aren't the ways that I've handled stress in the past worked? So that is a valuable lesson that I have learned. The next lesson is changing your goal is okay. Wow. I think for me, like when I set a goal, it's like, this is what I'm doing and I don't want to change it. But the truth is, life happens, things change, and it's okay to change your goal. Sometimes we feel like when we can't change a goal, or when we do change a goal, it sounds like, we don't know what we want. And let's face it, we're humans. Sometimes we don't always know what we want, or what we think we want in that moment changes to another moment. And sometimes that's okay to change your goal without feeling guilty or, wondering what people are going to think or going to say. And we have to just let that go and say, hey, you know what? this was my goal before, and now this is my goal now, and not worry about what other people think or make yourself feel guilty because you've changed a goal. So that is a valuable lesson that I'm learning, because I change goals all the time. So because that's life, and we're human, and that happens. Next lesson that I learned is that delaying your goals, sometimes it's okay if you need time to process your change, or a change that's in your life. Because sometimes when we set goals and we're like, we've got to delay them, it can be like, there's something wrong with me. I don't know how to do goals. I don't know how to set goals. And delaying them feels like we're failing. When the truth is, if we've had change happen in our lives, we need time to process that change, and that's okay, especially if it's impacting our goals. And it's okay to delay those goals until later without, again, feeling guilt or feeling like, oh my God, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? I put this goal out there and now I'm pushing it back. So, we have to learn that, or I've learned that it's okay to delay your goals, especially if you've got stuff going on in your life that you need to process and work through the change that is going on in your life. So, valuable lesson. Self-love goes a long way. Especially if you're like me, I tend to beat myself up and just give myself a hard time if I'm not where I think I should be or where I'd hoped I would be. And it's like, you know what? That's okay. You're learning, you're changing, you're growing, and just loving and appreciating yourself within this moment and this part of your journey. It's okay to be where you're at and just continue to love yourself through whatever's going on, and not make yourself feel like there's something wrong with you, you should feel bad, guilty, or whatever. No, give yourself some love. You're at where you're at in this moment, and you're here for a reason. All right? The next lesson I've learned, and this is kind of a weird one, but is that your house can be kept clean regularly, or I actually specifically said daily. And I know this seems like a weird lesson, but the truth is I recently put my old place up for sale, and because I knew that people were gonna need to see it at any time, and I wanted to make my home available for people to see because I was trying to sell it, right? I had to keep the place looking good like all the time. So like, for instance, before we left the house, I would make sure that everything was in place, the bed spread, everything neat. And I am not the kind of person to roll out of bed and spread my bed every day, because I'm like, I'm coming back to it. But I actually found that it was great being able to see everything done, and more importantly, that it could be done, and it didn't take as much time and energy as I thought it would. It takes time, but I had my kids do their room, and just doing little things every day made a huge difference. And it really, when the weekend came, I wasn't there, scrambling to try to do so much work and clean and all that. It was just a little bit of work here and there to do, and that was less like, okay, I can do this. So I've incorporated that in my new home, where I'm just, doing little things every day. And I kind of had a nighttime routine where I would take like 10 minutes to do, quick pickup, and I had the kids do the same. But there were extra things that I could do that actually helped with the cleaning, and not just pick up and making it look neat and tidy. So that was a bit of an eye opener. It's kind of like, that old saying, if you know that people are coming over, you're going to clean your house a lot quicker. And your house is gonna look really good. And it's the same philosophy. It's just incorporating those things every day and just creating habits. And that has made a huge difference. That was a good lesson for me to learn, putting my home up for sale and seeing that, we can clean and maintain every day, and then which in turn will help on the weekends, so that we're not spending our weekends cleaning. So I like that, and that was a lesson well learned. So those are my lessons so far for the year. I hope you found them helpful. I would love to hear from you what lessons you've learned so far in the year. Please go ahead and share them in the comments. I also want to mention one of the first lessons that I talked about is being stuck. And if that's something you're struggling with, I just did a 2-part series on that. So I hope you'll go back and watch those on how to help yourself get unstuck, whether it's stuck within your book or stuck within just your personal life. I've got tips there that hopefully will help you out as well too. And I also want to tell you about a program that I'm doing, and it's kind of a weird situation or not weird situation, it's an option that I'm offering. I'm doing a little different. I wanted to do a one-on-one option as well as a online course option, because I know not everybody feels comfortable doing one-on-one, and some people are do-it-yourselfers and they're great. You give them the content, they jump in there and do that. But then there's those perhaps that don't know how to go about doing it and would like some help in that regards too. So I really wanted to try to help as many people as possible. So what am I talking about? As you know, we're at the middle of the year, and I'm offering what I like to call my author planning. And what this is just, it helps you with planning out your writing life. This particular one is basically gonna help you between now and the end of the year. Or if that's too overwhelming, it also works in 12-week increments. So I'm trying to make it flexible, because sometimes for some people trying to think, oh my God, mapping out a whole year, I can't even begin to do that. So I've broken it down so that you can do it for the year, for the rest of the year, for 12 weeks or less time. However, it's gonna be easiest for you is how the program is set up to be. And some of the main things, there's 3 parts of the program: reflect, plan, and act. And what the reflect is just sort of looking back on what you've done so far and processing that as far as what you've done, what you haven't done, and how you can how that can help with your planning. So we'll reflect on where you are. And then in the planning stage, we're really diving deep into all aspects of your writing life, from your books, your vision, your goals, everything that you need in order to create the writing life that you want to create for yourself, whether, like I said, that's for the end of the year or to take it in small segments. And then the last step, which is act, and that is where that is actually your roadmap on how you're actually going to achieve the goals that you set in the planning stage. So I hope that you'll check that out for yourself. It officially launches July 1st. But like I mentioned, I'm offering 2 options: an online course as well as a one-to-one with me if you need help with planning. I love planning. For those of you who know, some people love it, some people have no idea how to go about it, and that's why, like I said, I am offering both options for you. So I will leave the link below for you to check it out. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be diving in and sharing a little bit more about the program and working with me and what that looks like. So I hope that you will join me for that. In the meantime, I will see you in the group. Have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Bye.